there's been some things going on, and last weekend, Richard High came out and Angry Cops talked about how Buffalo Public Schools were blockading him from pursuing individuals as suspects in cases of either abductions or abuse. He notated at least 3 of them on the unsubscribed video channel in a video directly given to YouTube, not on their paywall, behind the paywall podcast for Pepperbox. They just put it on YouTube, get it out to everybody. This just came out within the last hour. Let's go. I have to share the screen first, don't I? Okay. Hey, Crafting. This is going to be a serious podcast. You might not enjoy this. It's not even going to be me painting.
To this one, Mr. Cody, if you want to kick it off, Mr. Cody, of why of this real quick update video for everyone. To the people watching right now, by the way, this is a rare thing. We're actually doing it streaming to each other instead of in person, and there's reasons behind that. We can't just fly Rich down because,
yeah, like I said, they had a release about 2 weeks ago, and there were 6 of them in the same room. This is Eli Double Tap. He's a fine individual. He's got a Purple Heart. He's done a lot of stuff for us. He's probably one of the nicest gentlemen in the veteran sphere, and he's a real big warrior for children with autism. It just kind of breaks my heart that all this unfurled and a bunch of undue attention came. Not that he can't weather it; he can weather a lot of storms. But this guy is just like a salt of the earth American, as far as it's concerned. So everybody lives in different areas. They're getting together to stream this. I have no idea what's about to be said.
it's the new stuff that has came out. But Cody, if you want to introduce and get this going.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Unsubscribed Podcast. I'm joined today by Angry Cops, the Fat Electrician, Eli Double Tap, Brandon Herrera, and myself, Donut Operator. We are here today because our friend Angry Cops has some updates about the whole Buffalo school system situation. What you got, Rich?
The local media hates me.
Oh,
yeah, we see that. It seems that trying to disparage me is far more important than looking out for the children of Buffalo. So
No. Let's talk about the fact that you're fucking drinking, like, I don't know, 2 12-packs of White Claws amongst 6 of you, which 24 divided by 6 comes out to 4. And if you're sitting down there for like 3 hours, if you have to go pee, it's clear.
how dare I even go on your podcast?
And how dare we drink? How dare we drink on that podcast too?
Hashtag absolutely foul.
Listen, I heard you burp, which means you're not allowed to protect children.
That makes sense.
So ridiculous. So fucking ridiculous.
I love how their tone has changed as it becomes apparent that you were A, correct, and B, they get pushback from everybody involved of like, I don't care that he had empty cans near him and he burped at one point while he's trying to expose corruption and endangering kids.
It is the
so much for a rocky past.
It's wild. That's the way to downplay it.
That's my favorite part of the entire thing. They're like, this detective has a rocky past, and he's
okay. If he's following the rules of his job, he's always going to be scrutinized because he's a cop. He's got to do things to people in order to get them detained and get them in front of a judge. And sometimes people are assholes, or worse yet, they don't recognize they're doing something wrong, or worse yet, they recognize they're doing something very wrong, and they try to be an asshole because they're partially drunk. I wish I had a Jamie to queue up a whole bunch of instances of Rich just chest bumping people on a parade. All right,
using the Buffalo public school system. So you guys want to hear about the rocky past of the Buffalo public school systems? Because I have it. I've covered.
All right, here's where some tea comes out, because there's a lot of bad stuff that the BPD doesn't, the public school system does not handle well. Where the fuck? Here we go with the fat electrician, the guy that gets receipts, and he printed it off or he wrote it down because he's not going to look at it on his goddamn phone.
Every fucking scandal they've had since 1970. You guys want to get into those real quick? I can give you just the brief overviews.
Well, I know what today we're going to talk about.
Yeah, today we're talking about the Buffalo school system.
Yeah, before we get into that, that is the one thing. The main thing is, Rich, you have something we will tie in wherever it falls. We'll go through this linearly of how everything is unfolding. Rich got hit with a big thing, right?
Yeah, I now have evidence that I can share, like that I don't have to sit on and wait. I have evidence that I can share that has to do with one of my investigations that's closed that I got just the other day. That it's gonna make me look as like I know what I'm talking about.
Wild. You were right. Huh. You weren't making shit up. Huh.
Oh, hold on. Time out. I'm not like a lawyer or anything, but does the testimony of an active serving SVU detective in regards to the area that he does his fucking job in count as evidence to begin with?
Okay, this was a big sticking point from Buffalo Channel 7, I believe, because they were upset that these guys were gathered together in a room with all this alcohol on the table and they were belching. And then here's this man leveling these fierce accusations about how the school system was not pursuing wrongdoers and instead covering them up. And now what we have is a bunch of drunken louts. Look, a bunch of old sailors and soldiers drinking together, and he's saying this in a non-sanitized podcast. Oh, we can't look at this man seriously. Go ahead, Nick.
I mean, some might call me a subject matter expert, so that could be used in court. Yeah.
Oh,
I mean, his job is being a fucking detective and getting in front of judges and leveling testimony and putting people that are lawbreakers into bits of punishment, be it behind bars, a fine, probate, whatever.
of like the cases that you've worked on that you just gave your testimony about and they still fucking called shit. It's okay though, because now we have like concrete documented evidence.
And really,
Right?
Rich, what is your job? One more time, just so it is very clear of what you do. And it's not a random guy on the internet or the influencer.
Yeah. So I am currently a detective in the Buffalo Police Department's Special Victims Unit, which deals with assaults on children, domestic violence, and things of that nature.
A professional.
When I'm not on YouTube, yeah.
Now, his YouTube unprofessional stuff is really good. If you're not already subscribed to Angry Cops, go subscribe to Angry Cops. If you have had a couple of years in law enforcement classes, if you've ever liked or had a friend that was a cop, add Rich to your weekly rotation, and you'll get some good dark humor. It feeds the alligator in the pit of your soul. It's good.
Well, hold on. He burps though.
Shit, I forgot. Yeah, we
true.
recorded that.
Yeah, if I was a parent and I had my kid in the Buffalo public school system, I don't really think I would give a fuck about the empty White Claw can. That's just me personally, though.
Yeah, well, you're going to be a horrible parent, Brandon, per Channel 7 News. So poor
But what
Ed.
about his decorum?
Poor Ed is just getting lamb basted for people who don't know. Ed, who is actually he's a good journalist. I enjoyed watching his stuff because he holds people to accountable when he questions them. He doesn't just let them like give him some BS answer. Made the mistake of starting starting his story about finding out about this by saying, oh, the Unsub podcast is gross. It's a bunch of dudes drinking, burping, and being, quote, absolutely foul. And then he goes, but then, then the detective started talking about things that, were concerning. And I'm like, oh no, you just made the worst introduction to the Unsub community you could have ever made. And now everybody in the Unsub community is not letting him skate and being like, the first thing you cared about and talked about in the story was booze, burps, and being foul. You owe us an apology. And then you guys clipped it and we all shared it. And he's like doubling down on it now, saying, no. I was talking about other stuff too. And Nick was brilliant. He goes, oh, isn't that crazy how we brought up a small portion of something that happened in your career and that's all we're focusing on? Seems kind of like the shit you do to Rich, doesn't it?
It's like, oh, it was out of context. I'm like, no, I watched the clip. It's just what you fucking said to open it up. That's directly what you said.
We played like the untouched minute and a half of him talking. We didn't cut it out of anything.
Yeah, we didn't edit it. It wasn't like a little 5-second snippet. It was just his entire introduction to the segment was talking about how foul we are.
Which is becoming a t-shirt. I talked to the guys at Bunker, and they're in the process of making an absolutely foul t-shirt.
Rich, that is your deplorables.
The deplorables is really good. Well, Nick, do you want to get started with the you probably predates? We have a quick update, or what we can do, Rich, do a quick, hey, here's like a 3 to 5 minute segment to catch everyone up if they're just tuning into this.
Sure. So
This is where a lot of us have been waiting for right here, because I have a feeling we're about to get an avalanche of information that's been kind of hidden from us. Hey, Cotton Ministries, how you doing? Also like to say hello to Crafting Gamer and 6 Nation 31 Kings. I'm going to be doing this video as a reaction. I've never done a reaction video before. Never watched a video as a reaction before. I'm trying not to touch miniatures, okay? All right, let's go.
So if everybody's tuning into this for the first time and they're trying to figure out what the hell's going on, because several weeks ago I went on your podcast, the Unsubscribed podcast, which I'm a regular on because we're all boys, and I felt like that was the appropriate opportunity to talk about how the Buffalo Public Schools has been intentionally misreporting or underreporting and obstructing law enforcement investigations into child abuse and assault against children. It got a lot of attention right off the rip, and a lot of people critiqued it and said, hey, we're uncultured and foul, and questioned why I would go on a lame, dumb podcast and even talk about such a serious topic. And obviously my reasoning and my response to that is because I trust you guys. I love you all. You guys would allow me to talk like that. And because we're tight, and I asked you if I could just steal the spotlight for a second and talk about something that was weighing on my mind, you let me. And the thing that sent me over the edge, that created and started all of this, wasn't just my several years in the Special Victims Unit and the years prior and hearing about these issues for years and years and years with the Buffalo Public Schools. The straw that broke the camel's back is a recent ongoing investigation where 2 kids were nearly abducted. It was an attempted abduction of 2 kids at an elementary school, and the school had failed to notify one of the kids' parents that the child was a part of an attempted abduction. And then the school deleted the video of the attempted abduction. And then only after somebody within the school had the wherewithal to save a copy of it, I don't know how they did it, but they saved a copy of it somehow. They then gave it to the district attorney's office. And only then, when the district attorney got that recording, did they see that there was a second victim. And I was like, okay, cool. If this is what's going on, then I'm done. And somebody has to know, and a change needs to be made now, because this.
I'm just trying to comprehend just how many times somebody would have been hearing or seeing this going on, and the ball was dropped. Kind of like watching LeBron James tumble to the ground and just lay on the wooden floor of the court.
This is egregious. And since then, the news has decided for the first couple days, decided to focus on me instead of the children. And when I say focus on me, they would try to bring up, or they would bring up, my past with internal affairs investigations and investigations with the AG's office. They say he's had numerous investigations, which is fine. I can be investigated a million times for every single complaint that anybody's put on me, and I should be, to make sure I'm not a bad cop. What they don't talk about is that at the end of all these investigations, the only thing that they showed, including the AG's office, was that I was too rude when I called a robbery suspect for an armed robbery fat boy, and that I got in an on-duty accident in a vehicle. Those are the only two things I was found.
Okay, the on-duty accident with a vehicle, he's explained before what happened was he was pursuing a suspect on a motorbike, a motorcycle, or some sort of powered bicycle. The guy was resisting arrest by not allowing himself to get detained. And so Rich decided he would bump the motorbike with the squad car and thus in the chase because it just went. And so he was investigated for that, which I find that to be funny. And Letitia James, the hardworking AG of New York State, she's investigating both of these situations where he called somebody fat boy. Fat boy is funny because there was two suspects in a white shirt, and Rich had a third suspect detained, and he's like, which one was it, the fat guy in a white shirt or the skinny guy in a white shirt? So they're both the same demographic. It's just one of them is portly, one's not. And from what I understand, he used portly, he used obese, he used other things. When he addressed the guy in the open, get over here, fat boy, which is, hey, you're already busted. You're going to get your feelings hurt probably. Meh, whatever.
Like, that I did incorrectly. So that brings us to our autism army, who decided to flood the gates with, thank God, the positive comments about me, and the local media trying to take away the spotlight from the incidents that I'm talking about in the Buffalo Public Schools, trying to cover up sexual assaults and other things in their schools, and trying to make me the center of it. So everybody called them out and literally changed headlines, which I think, Nick, you posted on, where somebody, I think it was a Channel 7 news article, was like, it started off with like, the first paragraph was me having a rocky past, being controversial, and internal affairs investigations. And then within 2 days, that entire portion of the paragraph was gone. And that was about from every news article too. And all it was Special Victims Unit detective. All of a sudden, all of my shit was gone, thank God. And they started focusing on the real issue, which is the children. And that was because the community stepped up and held them accountable.
Isn't that crazy how they question why on earth you would go to a podcast and not the news outlets, and then they immediately show you why you were justified in going on our podcast by berating you and focusing on you, and then you actually went in at their request and filmed a 20 to 30 minute interview, and then they only posted 7 minutes of it, whereas you...
He also, from what I understand, I haven't had a chance to look at the Timcast interview yet, but went on Tim Pool's webcast, which that's fine. I don't watch a lot of Tim Pool, and I'm sorry about that. But after this happened, it was last week when they released this, the Buffalo Public Schools aren't a good place for your kids. They assembled from Sunday to Friday $10,000 they're sending to the Buffalo Abused Children's Fund, or some abuse center that helps take care of kids that have had problems. It's just the power of the autistic and military community getting together.
You get to come on here and talk for 37 minutes uninterrupted the entire time and get the full fucking story out. That's crazy.
I'm confused as why they didn't even put the 27 minutes that we recorded up on their YouTube channel. Like, all of their videos get like 800 views on YouTube. So who cares if you put up the entire unedited version on YouTube? You would get more views.
It's the line. Like, one of the crazy things is Cody talks about it. I mean, we've all talked about it, but it is not trusting legacy media, the news. And then you get to see how they discredited you with that. It's like, hey, let's focus on his quote unquote rocky past, but then just outright lie. The one that was wild is they said you headbutted a children in the face, and there was a 17-year-old that was like trying to pull somebody off a fucking police officer.
No, that was different. That was an off-duty fight with drug dealers.
Yeah, and they said children.
Yeah, if you're a 17-year-old kid in a fight, when the cops are telling you don't fight, physically don't fight, you're not being a child then. You aren't given the same fucking protections, and you're not weighed the same legally as a child would be. You're 17 years old. Guess what? You're so close to adulthood, you spill over into adulthood.
Yeah, they tried to say children. That kid's been arrested. Like, I say kid, he's younger than me, but he was 17. He was selling dope outside my friend's house in a different town. And I confronted him about it. And then he swung at me and I headbutted him in the mouth. And then we called the police. They showed up. They ended up tasing and arresting one of the dummies that was a part of their little gang. And since then, like, that dude that I got in a fight with has been arrested like numerous times for like breaking into people's cars and dope and just being an overall turd.
Yeah.
I saw the news recently brought up the thing too about that dipshit that was hitting cars with a skateboard and you held him down until cops got there. They brought it up again. And they were like held down to a black man having a mental crisis,
which is hilarious because in the actual video, like you're just holding him down. You're like, he's fine. The guy on the ground's like, yeah, no, I'm good.
Yeah, he says, I've been waiting for this all day. Because what the news doesn't put out there is that there were already 7 911 calls about him, that he was flashing his dick to people crossing the street and trying to hit cars and people with his skateboard before I showed up. And then the police went there, and because there was no complainant to be like, yeah, that's the guy, I want him arrested for flashing me and trying to hit me, they were like, hey, you're the guy that's causing an issue, you need to settle down. They had a mental health counselor with them who deemed him to be sane and fine, and they didn't need to put him into, the loony bin for the day to get him checked out. And they left. And then 3 minutes later, I showed up. And then 3 minutes later, he motherfucked me and then tried to hit my truck with his skateboard. And then we scuffled. And then that was it.
It's a shame that we have to even have this segment before, period. This shouldn't have to be discussed to show. It's like, hey, this is trust.
Okay, so just to keep in mind, Angry Cops joined the Army in the late 2000s, did his service time, believe he was in Afghanistan. I may be wrong. He might have been Iraq, but then as a reservist, he's been a very good drill sergeant. And then, as a full-time job, he became a cop. There's really no better individual out there I could ever imagine being a good cop. He's very good at his job. I like watching the skits when he's at work being a cop. Typically, they're not the boring skits where he's filling out paperwork. Typically, he's kinetic, doing stuff. But we're watching a self-analysis of a man among his peers who he has a favorable reaction to. Whenever he gets scrutinized by media or by the legal eagles of New York State, like Letitia James, it's not going to be so favorable. They're going to come out with a bunch of stuff and try to smear him as best as possible. But having friends that have a podcast that he can go and talk for a half hour or an hour and get hundreds of thousands of views as he explains his case, that's going to be the major deciding factor in how this weighs out.
Trustworthy. The discrediting, if you're doing that and you're watching this, or that's your first reaction to be like, well, we just got to discredit that police officer. Fuck. We don't care about the kids, anything. First, let's get this guy. Let's knock him down a peg, and then we'll focus on that. And we have to have this segment just for that, which is fucking wild.
I think it's petty jealousy too, because the local media is upset you didn't go to them. You went to a podcast instead. And they're like, well, do we deserve to break this story? We're the real journalists. They do really think that way. Like, I experienced it myself. like with campaign stuff and whatnot. But the thing is, you actually want.
This is Brandon Herrera. He just lost a House seat to incumbent Tony Gonzalez. The district goes from West San Antonio to El Paso.
He wanted it to get fucking views, which is why you went to our podcast and not the local news station that A, was going to attack you and berate you anyway, but B, nobody fucking watches that anymore.
I didn't want to go somewhere where, like you said, the local news is just going to attack me and make me look dumb, and 20,000 people might see it at most, and the most attention it's going to actually get is, I don't know, somebody from the school saying, we'll look into it, and then it not being a non-story forever. Like I was past that point. Like I said, that story that broke the straw that broke the camel's back, the one with the guy breaking into the school trying to steal the 2 kids. Like I was like, no. Change is going to happen now. Change is going to happen right now.
Well, we still appreciate you coming out, being emotional with us, and feeling comfortable enough to have that discussion, because that was like, it speaks volumes to who you are, and then also the guys you have surrounded yourself with, and that the brotherhood we have formed. That's what I love most about all like this group of boys is, man, we're all comfortable around each other, and we're fucking truthful to each other. Yeah, we don't pull punches, and we are not trying to hide anything. So again, brother, thank you so much for talking that way with us and ruining the after show.
Sorry. Sorry, not sorry. Nicholas, do you want to bring us up to
Okay, I just put in the chat the link from the unsubscribed podcast release, and that happened 8 days ago, Saturday of last week, I believe, where your kids are in danger, the SVU detective exposes, and he goes through the 3 cases where he initially just came out with it. If you are subscribed to the Unsubscribed podcast, 2 weeks ago, Habitually Fat and Angry, where the kind of consensual crossover happened, and they had 6 guys on the panel in person. If you watch that, Richard High goes into a lot of the things going on that he's able to talk about, and he's not discussing the negative stuff that happens when he talks about the expose of the public school system. However, you'll note that those 2 podcasts happened the same day. They were filmed within 3 hours of each other, and they probably filmed the public school expose first. They probably did that first. I'm not certain, but then they had the Habitually Fat and Angry discussion just as a cool down from all the shit that Rich had to go through. That's, if I was a program director, if I was a guy having explained that, I would want to wrap the day up on a high note, and having 5 of my friends around after I exposed something that could kill my job would be great. On with the show.
speed on the sins of the Buffalo School District and how the local media has decided to not talk about that at all until Channel 2 came around and decided to?
Just for the sake of time, we're not even going to get into the 70s through the 90s, because those are a complete shit show where almost everything went unreported. And the only reason we know about the majority of them now are because people are filing civil suits after the fact due to new legislation. I believe it's the Safe Children's Act, which basically said there is no statute of limitations for civil suits in regards to sexual assaults. So there's been a bunch of stuff that has come out from that era, but we're going to skip past that. We'll get right into like 2019. There was a high school technology teacher caught with illicit child material all over his computer. He is now in federal prison. In 2019, again, another English teacher from the area was caught and convicted for growing marijuana, trafficking marijuana, having possession of illegal firearms, and distributing to minors.
Oh, that's nice.
So
Wow.
that's 2019. So that was great. 2022. We've got Gregory Johnson, position principal, accused of ongoing physical and sexual abuse of a student during the school year and field trips. The outcome, there has been no criminal charges filed as of 2025, but there is a civil suit that is filed. 2022, failure to report abuse of a high school counselor. This is actually the case that Rich talked about, I believe.
Failure to report by a high school counselor.
Yes.
Not in 2022. Mine's 2024.
2022, a student reported being physically abused by her father multiple times, even showing video evidence. Yes, that's... Sorry, the date's wrong on that one.
That's all right.
We've got the Shane Cronin incident, which is also what we talked about. That is...
I have no idea what he's talking about here. Just to discuss some things in our chat. Shadow's like, if you can be drafted or serve in military at 17, you're not a child. Exactly. When I was discussing how the 17-year-old kid's getting lawfully beaten by a cop because, hey, he should be dealing drugs at my friend's house, in front of my friend's house, where, like, we're here. Why are you acting like this? Stop that. Yeah, you can serve in the military, you're no longer a child. Flaky, good friend of ours, it's nationwide and similar to the UK grape gangs. Most cities almost have a 1 in 10 ratio of this stuff in our schools. It's very bad, real bad. Thank you, lady. Here we go.
The man that attempted to kidnap 2 children.
Wasn't even aware of that one.
And then 2024, we have a music teacher in Buffalo Public School that was attempting to meet up with a 13-year-old girl for sexual acts, but it was actually an undercover sting operation. In 2025, a teacher accidentally gave THC-infused gummies to 2 students that landed them in the hospital. And those are just a couple of the current cases that Buffalo School District has going on. And then we can get into the broader topic, and this is actually due to reporters doing their fucking job after they got called out repeatedly. This information was brought to light by one of, in my opinion, 2 good reporters in Buffalo that's actually doing investigative journalism. So this is from Nate Benson. And he filed FOIA requests with the BPD to get information on the stats of how many times the police department is called. Between September of 2021 and current time, Buffalo Police Department has had to respond to 17,772 calls at schools. Gist of those are, we've got 880 times that ambulances were required. We've got a lot of verbal abuse, a lot of threats, larceny, theft, juvenile trouble, lost property. More concerning stats, we've got 881 fights, 176 assaults. We've got 162 incidences of missing persons under the age of 12. We've got 126 assault incidences. And the most concerning of all of this is because when Rich came on the original podcast, he said that the school has some level of influence over school resource officers, SROs, and the school is using that influence to get them to not file things appropriately or bury the cases. Out of those 17,772 police calls, 54% of them are listed under other, miscellaneous, or direct patrol. Direct patrol means it was just the SRO on site that responded. There's no further elaboration as to what 54% of those 7,000 calls were relating to. So assuming that it's just proportional, the amount of assaults would be double, if not more, and they're burying them and everything else. So that goes right in line with everything Rich said with things are not getting reported appropriately.
What the?
Okay, this sounds like they just enable this shit to happen. And it's been generational. That's what it sounds like. Also, for those of you that were watching us on Twitter, I'm sorry, but Twitter cut off after 18 minutes. I don't know why. Whatever. Well, we'll do something over with that later.
The fuck? 52%?
54%.
54%?
Of the 17,000 are basically just lumped together under the miscellaneous category, and they have absolutely no idea what the incidents were even pertaining to. And I believe the head of the BPD, the chief, was asked about it by the news and said he wasn't familiar with the stats and needed to look into it more.
Rich,
If
this
I
actually
may.
I was going to say real quick, it actually ties in kind of with what Rich has with what you got presented a little bit. Brandon, what were you going to say?
I was just going to say, if I may, be so bold It sounds like Buffalo Public Schools have a rocky past.
One would say that.
Bro, might it be controversial?
Fuck. Okay.
Maybe I would say that would sound pretty controversial. But enough about your rocky past. Let's talk about your rocky future.
Yeah, it's gonna be rocky going forward. Cody, let me know if you ran into any of this, so you can echo it, because I feel like this is a nationwide thing.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's why one of the reasons why the video got a lot of attention is a lot of people working around schools or closely with schools have seen this happen, across the states. So when it comes to those 54% of calls that go under miscellaneous or information only, when I say hiding a call or killing a case, right, that could mean a couple of different things. And we'll talk about hiding a call or burying it, right? If I have a sexual assault between two children at the school, what the school will do sometimes is they'll call it in and make it information only or juvenile trouble, right? So these things do not elicit an investigation. There's no crime in information only or juvenile trouble. They're basically what they say they are. So in an information only, if Nick and I got in a verbal argument and we're neighbors, we don't get along, I might even say that he pushes my garbage can over 5 feet into my other neighbor's yard because he doesn't like me. I'll call up 911. I'll get a report done. It'll be information only. The information will be that I don't get along with my neighbor and he keeps moving my garbage can. It's really just a way to keep historical track of an issue that somebody might have. Hey, I just want this on paper just to show a history of this type of action, right? There's no criminal aspect to it. There's no investigation. So what the schools will do is they'll have information brought in by a student, we'll say, who says, my friend or myself happens to be assaulted, right? They're reporting for themselves or reporting for one of their friends. And the school will take it. And for some reason, and I don't know why, they're worried that it's going to be labeled as another rape in their school, even if it's just it didn't happen here. I'm just telling you because you're my teacher and I trust you. Could have happened at home, right? And they're burying it under information only. So then no investigation goes through it. Hey, Janie said that she was touched, but it happened at home. We don't want the stigmatism of another rape call being here. So what we're going to do is we're going to make it information only and then fill it out, case closed. Hey, this person says that they were touched.
Well, that right there illustrates an easy, quick way to sweep things under the rug, and that explains thousands of situations that should have otherwise had a lot of attention given to them.
We don't no further information, case closed. Now, the only way that we can find that on BPD is if I search information only at that address, which never happens. Why would I search information only? There's no criminal aspect to it. There's no investigation needed. And that's how they bury it.
When I was a police officer, if you go to the school, crime actually happened, you fill out the criminal report, and then it goes up the chain of command. The people above you are going to look at it.
Okay, this is a donut operator. If you don't know who this is, another qualified YouTuber, ex-cop, was in South Carolina, had a good career. Didn't like it. Just didn't like being a cop. Didn't like having to get dragged into court and scrutinized over various details of an arrest. He was doing the right thing. Was doing the right thing quite a few times. Was given many pats on the back by his department, but just didn't like being a cop because you see the worst part of humanity that way. And God bless those guys who can do it day in, day out, years on end without a fucking stop. Instead, he wanted to go home, play Skyrim, kind of like what he'd done whenever he dropped out of Navy SEALs. He's like, I'm tired of being cold. I'm tired of getting 3 hours of sleep at night. I want to go play Skyrim and go be with my kid and my girlfriend. And he dropped out of Navy divers or Navy SEAL school, and he washed out. That's just what happens. There's a bunch of really good guys that have not made it through SEAL school, okay? Fucking Buds is grueling, and it completely destroys a lot of things that you used to enjoy about yourself. I know a lot of guys that went through that and failed, and they're hardworking, outstanding guys. They're accredited. They're fucking cops. They're fucking firefighters. I know a lot of them that got into nursing, of all things, and a couple that have become doctors. But that was a low point in their life after they got rejected out of it, and they kind of had to just deal with it because, hey, you're still Navy. You still got 3.5 years to go, fucker. Well, anyway, this guy, very good judge character. He, don't let him near your girlfriend, although he just did get engaged. But he's one of those guys that, like, a lot of men would be perfectly happy to have as a friend and brother because he's just one of those ubermenches, as best as I could say it.
Get it. But as Rich said, information only reports, it just gets buried in the computer unless you want to go search for it.
So the big hidden treasure here, to whoever wants to find it, is literally going to be going through those 5,400 different cases and then looking at the narrative and saying, all right, what did the police officer write down, or what did the school tell the police officer here? And in one of my cases that I currently have, that I can't get into because I'm looking into it, but what I currently have is I have one of those where it's an investigate, or where it's an information only, but the narrative states a sexual assault. And I'm investigating that currently. That is ongoing. I literally have in my possession that I'm investigating now, an ongoing investigation that is exactly what I stated. Information only, not reported to SVU, unintentionally, accidentally discovered, and then given to me because we're like, why is this inappropriately labeled? Otherwise, we never would have saw it. Otherwise, some poor kid that's a victim, potentially, because the investigation's ongoing, isn't getting any assistance. Now they're getting assistance, but that's only because we looked through it and found it.
That's something that I saw a lot of people reaching out there like, this isn't just Buffalo public schools. I don't know why you guys are making a big deal of this. This isn't just a you thing. This happens everywhere. And I'm just thinking like, yeah, that's not fucking good either. That's even more important to talk about then. How does that make this a non-issue? You just said it was an issue everywhere that isn't talked about.
Yeah.
Very important statement there. Just because you don't have the Unsubscribe podcast helping protect your kids, if there's problems where your children are going to school at, or where your kids are entrusted to be safe around adults and they're not, that's a problem. And it's not something you just sweep under the rug. That's a problem that could follow your kids the rest of their lives, or it could end in a situation that will be traumatic for you and everyone around you. The last thing I would want to have happen is a situation that gets exponentially worse, like I could hint at just now. But you hear somebody say, well, this is going on everywhere. Okay, as men, what can we do to fix it? Not that women couldn't fix it or wouldn't fix it, but we trust women in society to be nurturers and to kind of clean up the home and take care of things. Men go out and do the hard, ugly work. We have guys like this fellow right here on screen that he goes and he does the hard shit. And whenever he has a day where he fucking just can't stand anymore and he breaks down like he did last week, we have to understand something. We can't see that as like that's weakness. No. Throughout any traumatic experience, whoever experiences that, they have to have a period of downtime where they can process it. Sometimes they have to get it out through means of a reaction like crying or like just violent sobbing. And a lot of people have to do that away from others because like they have a quote unquote an image to uphold. Real brave of this guy to be on camera and almost fucking lose it in front of all of us. I give big props to him for being so secure. And I also give big props to his friends for willing to stand behind him no matter what was going on, because they know he's a solid character. He's only going to speak about things in a serious manner that are of an utmost of importance. The nature of them is so severe that in his previous attempts to shine a spotlight on it failed. And that's exactly what happened last week. Now here we are uncovering the fact that we had a group of individuals that, thank God for the Unsubscribe podcast army, the fucking autistics and veterans that are out there that fucking search for shit and found patterns. And now we have fucking proof that this has been getting swept under the rug for years.
And
Maybe. just maybe, if the world gets shown that a bunch of random podcasters can start looking at something and get a bunch of people fired or put in jail, maybe it'll set a precedent that everybody else will be like, oh, fuck, maybe I should start doing my job, or a bunch of podcasters that drink and burp are going to make sure I don't have one.
Mhm.
Hey, we also laugh at your cum jokes too.
Offenders assemble.
Yeah.
Offenders assemble. Oh, I can't do mine around the school.
They're coming. What is it? A whole bunch of autistic people? They're pissed.
They're really upset. If now, while we're talking about that, just so I don't lose my train of thought, if there is a Buffalo public school, or the Buffalo, if there's a parent of a child that goes to a Buffalo public school and they're like, hey, you know what? My daughter or my son brought up that something happened at school and I called up the school and I wanted a report done. I wonder if they mislabeled mine. Those parents need to go to any Buffalo district house, Buffalo police district house, and they need to go to the report technician, the front desk, and say, hey, here's my ID. I'm so-and-so. So-and-so's my daughter, kid, whatever. I filed a police report with the school a while back and I never got a call. I'd like a copy of the report and just an update if there is one.
Okay, that right there. If we're gonna clip anything and make it go fucking viral, that right there, those instructions to the fucking parents of the Buffalo School District, to the Buffalo Public School System, that right there is what you want to clip out, and you want to get that on your fucking rotation. You want to get that in your heavy fucking push. You want to fucking share that, subscribe, have people fucking monetize that right there, because that'll push the fucking parents to be like, you know, little Timmy wasn't acting really good in his freshman year, and he's a senior now, and he wears makeup, and he's changed his entire lifestyle. He doesn't even believe in God anymore. I have a hard time getting him to church. Maybe it might be stemming from what happened to him as a freshman. I never did receive a phone call. Right there, that's what you gotta fucking do. You got friends that are in the BPD area or the Buffalo Public School System area. You need to fucking push on that, because that right there, that's your $1,000 second. That's your fucking moment right there, to where you can see if, like, hey, I need to make sure your procedure was followed. I never received a phone call from the cops. And if you don't do that, like, you might have a situation that evolves and gets worse. I'm just saying.
And you're going to know then, A, if a report was even done for your incident, because if the report technician behind the desk says there's nothing here for your kid, you would probably search it underneath your child's name or your name. If they say, hey, there's no report for your kid, like, period. Well, there you go. There's an incident of the school intentionally not reporting something that you called them to report. And then B, if you do get a report, note what is the headline. Is the headline information only? Is it miscellaneous? Is it something that they're trying to hide? Or is it exactly what happened? An assault, some sort of abuse.
On top of that, don't we also have an email address now, if you want to shout that out?
Take the high road at gmail.com. Take the HY road at gmail.com. And that's for any information, like if it's affecting you or you don't know what's going on or you're trying to shine some more light on it, please email that direct email. Yeah. Take the high road and tell us your story, because it is one thing.
Please don't spam it either. Like, don't just flood it with, oh, I heard about this case. Here's a news article. Like, this is if you have something that you feel like needs to get out there or would help with this investigation.
All right, Lady, I'm not going to disagree with you. Like, probably 80% of the numbers reported lately have been highlighting the female educators that are out there having sex with their students. Probably not a good, lawful thing there, since they all end up in orange afterwards. You're most definitely correct. Women are most of the problem. Most of the reported problem, most of the broadcasted problem. I don't know what the numbers are with the SA committers, but you're right on the 80% of educators are female staffed and led. Yeah, you're fucking correct. I don't understand why these attractive 20 and 30 and 40 something women that most guys at a bar would have no chance in hell ever having sex with, but yet they're picking on a 12 or 15-year-old kid and ruining his life by opening his mind up and body up to that. and completely possibly derailing him. I mean, as much as I would love to have a 15-year-old boy come home to me and be like, Daddy, I had sex with my gym teacher, the hot one that you always think is great. She used to play volleyball. I would love for my boy to say that, but at the same time, like, from the morality standpoint, like, oh, she couldn't wait for a couple years. She had to have you now when you're like young, don't have a job, you don't have any influence. She couldn't wait for you to turn at least 21, have the ability to, swing a hammer for a living or go and be a student for a living and start getting your adulthood assembled and get involved with organizations and start showing men how to do things and start educating others around him. She couldn't wait for you to be an adult. Instead, she fucked you when you were a teenager. Boy, that's a monster. And that's kind of the problem that I have with when I start to mindfully think about it, like, oh, that teacher's pretty hot. I think 90% of dudes think that whenever they see, like, another teacher had sex with a child. Most guys are like, oh my God, like, that chick's so hot. Yeah, none of us would have ever had a chance with her in a bar, but yet there she is being a predator. And that's the thing. She's a fucking predator.
If you were there and you witnessed a thing happen, if you're a first person and you saw it happen, or if you heard it from the person that saw it happen, that's it. And it'd be really great if you could give us dates, times, locations, and the names of those people involved.
I think the Buffalo public school system is handling the scrutiny terrific. Really. I mean, did you see what they did on Monday?
Oh my God.
Yeah, their statement.
Oh, no, that was on Sunday. Monday, they had independent auditors go to the administration building and walk around the hallways and try to ask people questions. And most people ignored them and stonewalled them, which, I can't really fault that if random dudes with cameras were showing up at my place of work. I don't really blame them for that. But then one gentleman by the name of John M. Palmara in the finance office got so upset that they were asking questions about the Buffalo Public Schools deleting evidence. He said, I know what to do. I'll break their phone that they're recording on and destroy more fucking evidence. Good. What a way to set a precedent and show what you guys are all about. Great. Showing up at my place of work. I don't really blame him for that. But then one gentleman by the name of John M. Palmara in the finance.
John M. Palmara. This is going to be important later. This is a name that will show up.
Office got so upset that they were asking questions about the Buffalo Public Schools deleting evidence. He said, I know what to do. I'll break their phone that they're recording on and destroy more fucking evidence. Good. What a way to set a precedent and show what you guys are all about. Great fucking work.
Oh, God. I'm sorry. That's just fucking wrong, ain't it?
I love it.
Wild. Untruths.
And get arrested for it.
Actually. Yeah. News hasn't covered that one yet.
Brendan, didn't you make an interesting point about their recorded meetings?
Oh yeah, well, because it was the fact that like they're all available.
All of Buffalo public school systems, all of their meetings except for the last one, that the day after Rich unveiled this complete and utter clusterfuck. What happened was they had a non-live stream meeting that lasted for 3 hours.
On YouTube, like they live stream their board meetings, but this one,
the board meetings get like 80 to 100 views, but we all wanted to know what happened at this one.
As soon as Detective High comes out on a podcast that is full of foul people, all of a sudden now they want to do a secret meeting that is not broadcast to YouTube, that the public is not available to go to.
Journalists weren't allowed. They were kicked out. Journalists were kicked out of that exact same closed door meeting, which is fucking wild.
What do you think they might have talked about?
The journalists also said that there was significantly more security at that meeting. They said there's usually like 1 or 2 people, and this time they had like 10. So then the journalist went and started interviewing teachers since they didn't have anything else to do. And the teacher they interviewed said, I don't know anything about exactly what Detective High has highlighted, but it wouldn't surprise me because at least in the 20 years that he's been there, there's been a pretty big culture of downplaying or hiding violence and assaults altogether.
Some people might call that a clue.
There's a culture of downplaying violence and other incidents, like the officer is mentioning, in this district, really since I started over 20 years ago.
I also have a FOIA request in that got submitted today because the email that we set up already, somebody has reached out and said that, I'm not going to say his name because we don't have any evidence yet, but allegedly there is a vice principal at a Buffalo School District school that has been moved around almost every year of his career, and he gets constantly moved around due to complaints of sexual assault and being oddly
Okay, I believe we have our first individual. We need to schedule a maintenance check with the wood chipper.
sexual near children, and he just keeps getting bounced around from school to school. So I have a FOIA request out pertaining to all of the internal records with the Buffalo public school systems.
What?
Yeah, which that stuff drives me fucking crazy because people like it's the people who reply to this stuff, right, on like Facebook, like some of the people that don't like Rich that are like, I don't know why we're even talking about this. This happens with the Catholic Church all the time. Her. It's like, well, A, statistically speaking, it's way more likely to happen in public schools. B, we don't support that either. It's a controversial statement, but I just think that, you know, abuse should be reported and talked about no matter where it happens. It just so happens to be happening here. This isn't a tit for tat kind of game.
What the fuck?
All right, Rich, you want to get to the hard evidence that we've got?
The new
Okay, my bad. I thought we were already in Act 2 of this, but apparently now here we go.
evidence that shows exactly what I've been talking about regarding the oh man, my wife looks hot. Hi. We're recording a thing right now. You look hot though.
Get this part in.
Hi, cut that out.
So she doesn't want any part of this. She's got so much anxiety.
He used to have a hot blonde in his videos.
So Nick, speaking of people emailing us and telling us, you know, new and intriguing information that could be brought to light to show a history of, you know, not working with police very well or intentionally mislabeling or even failing to report, I received an email from an individual at a school.
Whoa. Okay, I'm a school counselor and was told I could not speak to you, so you could never provide a statement from a student. Basically, our admin, redacted, went home to the burb zone. A girl reported a rape, delaying a rape kit. They never even called you guys until halfway through the next day. Redacted. The kid said there was video. I'm convinced they never tried to get the video. Also, earlier in the year, a girl was sexually assaulted, groped, and fondled by several boys while being pushed against a wall, and my admin never reported it and claimed it was a horseplay. She ended up moving to another state with a relative because she couldn't feel safe in the school. These aren't just students to me either. They are my neighbors and community. A quick Google search of my name would tell you that I have dedicated my life to advocating for people, but years at BPS has almost broken me. Don't even know if these kids will have a counselor next year. Holy balls.
And this individual said, hey, Rich, you came to my school last year and you were investigating a sexual assault on one of our students. This person didn't say exactly who told them that that they were not allowed to talk to me, but this person also had a statement.
Hold on, I got some chat. Your tax dollar is working hard against you, and this is within 24 hours of the broadcast, if I recall. Yeah, let the parents play pinata. Boy, that would get me kind of like a small suspension on X. I don't know about
Statement from the student.
I don't know about YouTube or Rumble. We'll find out what happens with that later today. I know they're gonna fucking blacklist shit of this on YouTube. Rumble, I might become a fucking I might get 100 views in an hour. I don't know, but I'm not looking for views. Anything I make off this video, I'm gonna just send it to New York because I'd rather see it go to people that need the fucking help than a plumber that drives a stinky shit truck.
Not the student that was assaulted, but the student's friend that was one of the people that she confided in. I forget the actual term that we use for it in policing, but whenever somebody confides their sexual assault to a friend, it's like their first utterance of it happening. That's a big deal. We notate the date and time and what that person was told by that individual, and it grants credence and validates the victim's story, right? Instead of just, you know, a he said, she said, there's other people involved, which, you know, which is what we want. More eyes, more statements, more voices to solidify exactly what happened. So I'm going to read what this child wrote in a statement, and then I'll go over why it's a big deal.
Just to be clear, before you read the statement, just so I understand exactly what's happening. You investigated this, you solved the case, you closed the case.
Yes.
And this individual at the school, either a teacher, a counselor, whoever, was given this written information by the student and then was told she was not allowed to give it to you, the detective that was actively investigating this assault.
That's correct.
What the
So
fuck?
this is new evidence.
Jesus.
This is new evidence brought in after the fact because the administration withheld evidence intentionally in a sexual assault case.
That's correct.
Okay, so all the hyperbole and all the false accusations about this shit last week when we said, hey, the Buffalo Public Schools are not allowing the police department and SVU guys to get information to examine so they can grab a hold of bad people and get them away from kids. That was all like, you know, they were throwing the fucking books at anybody even talking about this, myself included. I donated $50 to it. I was pretty happy that I did that, but I was kind of called out a couple times, and I'm like, well, you know, if you don't believe in protecting the kids, I guess I really don't need to worry about your opinion. But here we are finding out that there's fucking hard evidence of this shit, and now there's documentation of this shit. Boy, Buffalo looks like shit now, doesn't it? I mean, I love Buffalo, Rochester, Dundee area. Thank you, Dundee Brewing Company. But this really pisses me off.
So this would be failure to report and obstruction of justice?
I mean, I would say so.
Okay. I just want to make sure we're all on the same
Or
page.
witness tampering. I mean, I don't know if you really do witness tampering. That's kind of a stretch, but basically evidence was available. This person wanted to.
Hold up. Okay. High's early videos. This is in the chat. High's early videos had a coworker or girlfriend who was also a cop back in the day. I don't remember what she was. I think she was a girlfriend, blonde-haired girl. She would do a really good Russian accent from like 2015, 2017 area. Lady, remember we arrested a father for complaining his daughter was raped by a tranny. Yep, I remember that too. RT, he says to me, thank you for helping bring attention to this. Listen, I believe in the group of people that are around these guys. I do like this podcast. The unsubscribed guys are probably the only dedicated podcast. As soon as they drop something, I fucking go to it as quick as I can. But it's not the fact that I simp for them or anything. It's the fact that other people like me, gamers, fathers, husbands, dedicated individuals, hardworking men, good people, not just myself, thousands of us, people that think clearly, that have never had a special ed class in their life, or individuals that have been labeled clearly autistic. And it's a grace of God that they're able to do what they're doing today. It might be a janitorial job, but they're doing it really hard and doing it really well. Individuals that are trying to make the world within their arm's reach around them are around this community of individuals. The lady says, just imagine the numbers if we did a deep dive on NYC or LA. I already mentioned Chicago was 1 in 10 for 2022, I believe. Yes. Chicago's a sore subject for me.
Share it with me. And then they were told not to share it with me and not to even talk to me.
It's fucking wild.
And get ready for this. Get ready for this. All right. So I'm going to read it now. If you could please bleep out, I'm not even going to say the names, but please black out the names of those that are suspects, because the names mentioned in here could come up as a part of a new investigation for failure to report. So we're going to leave the names of the suspects out. I'm just going to say like teacher A or just the teacher, whatever. On Tuesday, October 22nd, I told Miss Blank that the victim got raped in the auditorium. She said, I'm not the right person to tell, and she took me to Miss Blank in the office. I told Miss Blank, today, the victim came late to a different teacher's class because she got raped in the auditorium. Miss Blank asked, is there any proof? Which is not what you ask a child when they're reporting this.
Sorry.
The victim's friend stated, yes, there is a video. Miss Blank asked, who was the boy? I said suspect, and she said, okay. She said she would.
This is fucking wild. I'm sorry if I'm getting distracted wanting to paint miniatures. I'm at my desk. This is what happens when I'm at my desk wanting to paint. Anyway.
Handle it tomorrow. She would handle it tomorrow. I thought she was going to do something or pull us in the morning and talk about it. But then
imagine having your daughter be told your crisis will be handled mañana and nobody gave a shit about it. Nobody wanted to give a shit about it because it would upset their delicate fucking work schedule and might upset their desk and it might upset their job and it might upset the people around them. So instead they just sweep it and your daughter's trauma under the rug. Just put yourself in that situation. And by the way, I'm not sharing this video because I want to make clicks or I want to do things. I just want the people to understand that whenever you have kids, whenever you have a group of children or a single child, like the intent that the creator had for that child is to be able to get to adulthood safely and in a status of being in protection so bad things don't happen to it. So I'm just telling you that if you like, share, and subscribe with my channel, that's great. I don't do a whole lot of reaction videos. This is my first one, if I remember right. Over 16 years, I might have done a reaction during the middle of another video, but like this video is dedicated to this right here. And I'm having a very hard time wanting to focus on this video because it's going into some stuff that like, wow, I didn't think we'd be talking about this today. But I knew this yesterday, it was going to be talked about. And I'm like, okay, I'll just, as soon as it comes out, I'll do the reaction to it. Because if I can help broadcast this a little further, if I can get this in front of people that wouldn't normally watch, unsubscribe, if there's something about me that would turn you on to these guys and listening to these individuals, this brotherhood that talks with each other and has a good time with each other, and it helps women understand men better, and helps guys understand the dark thoughts they have in their head a little better, so they don't go running off in the darkness looking for answers. Instead, they look for their friends and their families and ask them for answers, which is the utter goal of fellowships, I might add. Then maybe I'm doing the right thing. And I hope that the 15 or 20 people that are watching this with me, I hope you guys understand. If you need anything ever, just get in touch with me. I'm pretty easy to get a hold of on Twitter. It's Good Luck Idiots. And if you can't, if you know me in real life, just confide in me. I got time for you. I have plenty of time for you. But like this sort of individual situation that Rich is talking about right here, if I kept watching it straight through, I would be in tears, because this is just like something I've seen before with other friends when I was growing up, and like this sort of shit breaks families. It just pisses me off.
Half of the 7th grade knew, so we told Miss Blank because nothing was done. Miss Blank was in shock and said, give me 5 minutes. We walked away from Miss Blank and the victim started crying. So we went to go look for Miss Blank. Signed, the victim's friend who made this statement 2 days after. So in case you're not picking up what I'm putting down here, there was an assault on a child. The child made statements to her friend, hey, I got assaulted. The friend goes to teachers and says, hey, so-and-so was assaulted.
They'll say teacher A. So teacher A, is there multiple teachers?
Well, there's multiple teachers.
Okay, so we'll...
God damn it.
Teacher A is the first one.
Sure. Teacher A is first. Hey, we're going to go to teacher A and we're going to tell her. Teacher A says, oh, this ain't in my job description. Let's go to teacher B, which is fine. Whatever. You go to another teacher. She goes to teacher B. Teacher B says, where's the proof? Do you have any proof? Which is not how you say things to a child. There's ways that you interview children. This is not one of them.
It's almost like people that work in the education system aren't qualified to conduct their own investigations.
Mother of God, Nick, you nailed it on the head.
Wow. Fucking crazy. Makes you wonder how well all the investigations they've performed in the past have turned out.
So this goes on.
This is the end? This is like all the movement that ever happened on this case?
Well, I'll go into a little bit what happened afterwards
Okay.
to give it like a full picture. But in this scenario, in this child's statement, so she goes to teacher A, goes to teacher B. Teacher B says, well, what happened? Is there proof? Yeah, there's video. And then says, all right, we'll talk about it tomorrow. No, you fucking don't. You report that shit immediately, because if there's video going around of that kid getting assaulted all over school,
Wow.
that's got to get nipped in the butt right away. You can't have that. You've got underage kids doing it. Guess what that's called? There's a term for that. And it's getting spread around the school.
It's getting shared, and they have but again, 7th grade, going to an adult and saying, "Hey, this just happened." Happened, and there's video evidence that is.
This isn't live. This was released at I think 12:30 or 12:45. Ron, this is one of those things that I wasn't expecting to happen today. Where, wow, me and Janet don't have a stream going on, so fuck it. Okay, they're going to release the information that Rich is uncovering. Cool. I talked about it a lot on social media last week, and now they're going to release more information because we all knew what was kind of going on. We had no idea it's this fucking bad, but this is kind of like a live. I'm just kind of reacting to it and pausing it and talking about it. Give a little bit of context for people who don't know who the unsubscribed guys are. And if I make any misstatements, I apologize. But I'm trying to be as accurate on target as I can.
Fucking asinine to go, I'll look into it tomorrow.
Dude.
That's just pure rage of especially your own kids. And then you hear this. It's fucking wild. The first response is, I'll look into it tomorrow.
So then after nothing happened, then they went to teacher C, another teacher.
I think they went to a third individual, teacher, whatever. I think it was teacher. And then I believe that teacher, let me just double check. I want to, so in the morning, nothing happened. But then, that following day, half of 7th grade already knew what was going on. So then they went to teacher C and said, give me 5 minutes. And that teacher, I believe, was the one that started, notifying school individuals and other things like that, and then got the ball rolling. Thank God.
Imagine being that third teacher after the first 2 teachers failed to do the right thing. They didn't even point kids in the right direction. The third guy's girl, whomever it was, they get a hold of it. They're kind of out of their gourd. What did the 7th graders do? What the fuck is this? It's been over 12 hours.
I showed up a day, maybe 2 after.
So teacher C is the one that gathered this statement from the 7th grader and then was told by the administration she was not allowed to work with you or turn evidence over to you.
I'm not sure. I'm just for anonymity's sake. There are 5 people named in this document. And I'm not sure. I don't even want to say that the person that gave it to me is labeled in there or isn't labeled in there. I'm going to give them a little bit of anonymity just because I don't want their shit to blow up. Right. The person that gave me this information or that forwarded the complaint may or may not be in this document. Good fucking luck figuring that out. But I did receive it. So boom. The end result of this investigation, thank God, was that it was determined not to be an assault. We ironed everything out. I don't want to get in, these kids' businesses, but it was basically a very emotional reaction to the videos being spread, embarrassment, etc.
Okay. So it wasn't as bad as initially reported.
Right. And by the way, these are children. They're scared. They don't know what's going on. Their brains aren't fully developed. They're doing adult activities and recording them, not understanding the repercussions. It was a mess that we sifted through. But because of that mess that we sifted through, that we investigated, because I don't know if people know this, but as a detective, especially when it comes to kids, my job isn't to arrest a 16-year-old or 12-year-old or 8-year-old. My job is to determine if a crime happened, and then also to get these kids assistance, especially when it comes to like mental health awareness and getting them to like the Child Advocacy Center, the Family Justice Center, and getting them counseling, which is exactly what happened. We determined that a crime hadn't been committed. We moved forward. We got these kids on both sides help. And everybody is okay. Nobody's in jail. What do you know? Cops don't just arrest everybody when they show up.
With no help from the school system.
Honestly, I thought that the school was phenomenal. I went there and I worked with them. One of the principals or both of the principals were giving me information. They were calling me up. They were wondering about updates. They were...
Okay, this is the first time I've heard Buffalo Public Schools in a positive light. This right here, and we're at like the 46, so we're at the 40-something minute mark. Real quick chat. Chimerian says, Nick Binder is terrifying. Yes, that is his binder of preparation. He uses that whenever he opens up that binder. He has taken time to print it off. Therefore, he has the information right there in front of him, and something is about to get leveled. Ron Bergeron says, I see I just saw the new podcast dropped. I watched the first one last week, and I saw you got the news. Hey, thank you. I'm not trying to be in the news. I just want this to be shared. Don't even share me, okay? But go to the YouTubes and share this video out with your friends. And I'm going to put this in the... I'm going to put this into the chat so you can show this off to your friends or family, especially those that are on the East Coast. Anybody that's on the East Coast, this is something that you want them to be made aware of, because this could be an endemic at the kids' school that they go to. I don't want it to be, but if it happened at one, it could happen at any. So, yeah. Anyway, share that link out and give these guys, any money that you may ever want to give to me, don't. Throw it to these guys. They throw it to charities that matter. They're throwing any money that's given to them for this to a charity that's located in Buffalo. It helps out abused kids. That's what they did last week. We raised over $10,000. Any money I ascertain on this stream is going to follow the same. It'll probably be a much smaller bag, but I have no business whenever people are throwing money at me for this sort of thing. No, get it to victims. Get it to people that can help provide for victims' safety. Okay.
Teachers in the school that like wanted answers right away. And the principal was like, hey, listen, our school's upset about this. We're looking for this. We'd like information when you can get it to us. I thought it was phenomenal. And then I get smacked with this. So even when I think that I'm getting treated amazing and I have a great relationship with the people at this school, there's somebody within the school. I don't know who. I don't know who yet. I asked this question. I haven't gotten a response yet. So I'm waiting. Somebody in that school, somebody still was like, don't help the cops. Don't give them this statement. It's going to look like we failed to report, which you did.
Yeah, because you said that like it was later determined that there was no crime was actually committed. But the
Correct.
school didn't know that at the time. For all the school knew, that could have been a full blown that they were making sure they did not cooperate with your investigation at all or report it.
Thank you. That is the exact point that I wanted to hit on, and you brought it up before I could. Thank you, Brandon. The point of this whole entire thing is that at the time, this was a very real investigation regarding the sexual assault of a child. So how in the world, without knowing anything other than that, than the victim's statement of what happened, and they're now being video passed around the school, would you be like, you know what we should do? We should still withhold this from the detectives who are doing the investigation. Mind blowing.
It's just speechless of that idea of like, well, let's delay it and now don't talk to the police. Giving a direct, because as you said, it like they were told not to work with the police.
Correct.
And
so far, what we've learned is that if you ever have to call the school, it doesn't have to be Buffalo, but if you ever call the school and you say, hey, listen, I'm parent so-and-so, my child is this individual, I'd like to talk to a cop about a situation that happened, I'd like to file a report. And if you don't get a chance to talk to a cop and file a report, you need to push it further and harder. You need to go and talk to your local municipality. You need to get your local police district or sheriff's department involved. You need to make sure it gets leaned on very hard. When it comes to protecting your family, your children, their sanctity, their innocence, there's really not a price or value that could equate to that. So far, this has been kind of just like going over some basics from last time we watched these guys, but just the sheer amount of incompetence from the public school system of Buffalo is staggering. And not incompetence, because this is willful negligence.
That's fucking disgusting.
Welcome to my world. Maybe now Channel 4 can get off my back and they can say, oh, well, I guess there is information. Because let me tell you, the hardest part for me, like as an individual, like if I'm being selfish, right? The hardest part for me so far is knowing the information that I've investigated on these cases, but not being able to share it with the news or you guys because it's part of an investigation that's ongoing, or it's something that I know because of my job and I can't give away too much information because otherwise I could be held accountable for violating the media policies of my department. Now, this is different. This case is closed. I still haven't given away any information that you couldn't get from a FOIA request on a closed case, no longer open, closed. And this was given to me as a civilian by another civilian. This has nothing, this document that was given to me had nothing to do with me being on the job. I was off. They sent it to my personal email. That's how they got this information to me. They gave this to angry cops, not Detective High. So now I can talk about it. And I know everything about this case because it was my case.
Imagine working on something and banging your head against a wall for months or years at a time, and then things happen, time passes, a couple years pass, and then he's given all this information, and basically another giant rock is lifted off his shoulders as he realizes, like, okay, I was doing the right thing, we had the information. It comes out, it basically was not quite reported as it actually happened, and he can at least verbalize this and discuss this. It sounds like actually that the school district, there's certain people that are there that do give a shit about their job. Amazing to even have to state that. But
that's the hardest thing that
this is fucking sad. I feel sorry for my family. It's up in Buffalo. not Buffalo, excuse me, Rochester, because they're still tied to Buffalo.
But that's the hardest thing that has been, is watching people shit on me on the internet because I can't give them everything right off the rip.
You can't give everything because it's a minor. You can't fucking discuss names. You can't discuss what happened to him. Basically, it's an ongoing situation. We're doing an investigation.
You've got to ask for a FOIA request because I'm already on thin ice. I'm already going out and being a fucking whistleblower. I'm already putting, the spotlight on my city and my department.
I mean, you're doing you're doing it.
I can't do anything more without literally just ruining my reputation with my department and then just going through files and just sending everybody stuff. And then I would completely understand if I was unhinged like that and just gave everything away, that I would be suspended. So I can't cross that line.
And you again, you are even make us, like Nick, as you said earlier, you submitted a FOIA request. So did I. We are doing it the right way because Rich is following the rules that he has to follow. And he's like, hey, here, like, you have to do it this way. He's just like, here's how you submit for that. And we have to follow those guidelines. But that's going to be a week to a month to get this shit out, get the ball rolling on that stuff. And it's delay. And unfortunately, with the internet or something like this, 2 weeks on the internet, it's fucking gone. People forget about it. So.
Yeah. And this is, as Lady says, this is where I part ways with AC. No crime was committed. The girl committed the crime of false reporting because she regretted her decisions. Many other districts would have locked the boy up. Actually, Lady is describing 2 different cases, says Kai, in this. The main problem case is not the one he's describing there. It's a second case that he used to support the claim in the first. And Kai says, Lady's like, Kai, I get that. The girl fucked up. And you're going to have that. Those aren't the typical... Like, the false reporting seemed to be in the minority in small town Illinois, where I'm from. My qualifications put me at about 47 credit hours to applied science for a law enforcement officer's degree at Richland Community College, which I scored an A on the internship. Didn't do so well on the interview. Happens.
So that's why right now it's, hey, update, here you go, roll this out so these people are actually held accountable for their actions or lack thereof actions.
As far as that stuff goes, with the department itself, is it productive? Because I saw a lot of people like calling people within the Buffalo Police Department and stuff like that. Is that the way you would recommend going about it, or is that just going to make things hard for you? Because to my understanding, the Buffalo Police Department is the one that is upset about being stonewalled about this.
So if you want to call somebody and make a complaint, call the Board of Education, call the mayor. If you want to see an investigation that is beyond the Buffalo Police Department, which at this point I believe it should be, right? There's so many moving pieces that the district attorney's office is involved because the schools are ignoring subpoenas by them. They're not assisting and they're obstructing investigations by the Buffalo Police Department, and they're also not reporting them, right? When you have the district attorney's office, the Buffalo Police Department, and you could even go with like New York State Bar, like because lawyers aren't responding to subpoenas. There's the U.S. Board of Education. When you have all these things together, you can't have all these individual investigations going on and not talk to one another. So in a perfect world, somebody a step above the district attorney's office and the Buffalo Police Department would be investigating this, whether it be the AG's office, the U.S. attorneys, the FBI, the New York State Bar. But the bar is more towards, lawyers that do something incorrectly, not really criminal aspects of it. Even, the AG Pam Bondi's office, the AG. That's where I think where the investigation needs to go. So people like tagging them, emailing them, that I think is where it needs to go. And I think one of the important things, I forget if we talked about it or not, is to have family members like the mom and dad of these kids that think that they reported something to the school and that the school did the right thing and reported it to the police, is those people need to go to a Buffalo Police District station house and request the report with their child's name on it. Bring your ID and then you'll know. Was there a report even done, or was it intentionally mislabeled, or was it done appropriately? And if it wasn't, you feel free to email takethehighroad@gmail.com.
Great idea, by the way.
Well, yeah, who thought up of Take the High Road? Was it Eli?
It was the other. I think that was fucking the people, right, Nick?
Yeah, I mean, I suggested it, but that idea came straight from the comment section. It just kind of became the official slogan of all of this.
High road was taken. So show was like, I got take the high road. I was like, show, that's beautiful.
It's Take the High Road at
Yeah,
gmail.com?
HY. Yep, HY.
That's one of the many, many instances of our army of autists coming in clutch.
Okay. Lady says, for me, this all adds up to shut down, dismantle public education, and come up with a new format because this one is too broken. I cannot really disagree with that. I don't really disagree with a lot of the things you say, Flady. You always come at a problem directly, and I always appreciate your input on a lot of things because you usually go for the straight through the front door approach, which would work best in 90% of the situations. Rarely do you have to go around back, or do you have to become part of an organization to break it from within. But damn it, the public school systems seem to be failing the parents and especially the children. Especially if the kids aren't being taught anything. What the fuck is the point of a public school system? Did I say that aloud? I'm sorry.
Much to make sure that this happens.
And I really appreciate them. You know, it was rough the first couple of days trying to deal with this. And then, you know, I made my little video saying, hey, thanks for the support. I appreciate it. You know, by the way, to everybody that's been pooping on me back home, I'm in Boston trying to find the missing children of Buffalo. So thanks. And that video got a lot of positive comments, and it definitely rubbed my tummy, made me feel a little bit better.
And we might have to cut this part, but I just got another email.
Oh,
what'd you get?
One of the directors of the Buffalo Public Schools Safety and Security is a fired Buffalo police officer that was handed the job by Kreiner Cash because he was his driver. The news refused to report on this after the McKinley shooting took place a few years back. He has been investigated internally several times for his treatment of employees. I thought this might interest you. I would really like to remain anonymous. And then they sent me several links regarding this.
Was he fired? Did it say fired Buffalo cop?
It says fired Buffalo cop.
Oh, but that's hard. Not a fucking red flag.
I mean, it's fairly hard to get fired as a cop in Buffalo. You guys are union, aren't you?
For union, we just fired a couple people. You gotta mess up pretty good. And when you mess up pretty good, you're gone. Like that.
That, and I imagine there's a lot of people that really want Rich to have been fired over the years. And he's still here. He's still kicking.
Thanks, Indy Walton.
Whoa. So what next would just be like any worries from you for like before we close this out? What are your worries?
I've got one more.
That's pretty impressive that they've got that strong of a union. When I was in Decatur, Illinois, applying to be part of the PD, there was an individual that was on second shift at the time that was being investigated for sexual deviancy. Don't really know what happened with that afterwards. I just understand that any of the cops that were involved with him on any pair up involving a situation where there were female witnesses to be interrogated or discussed, any events around an experience, any of the cops were having internal affairs and human resources crawl up their assholes and investigate what their dealings were with him and any strange observations he had towards discussing things with ladies of Decatur, Illinois, of a certain persuasion, of a certain demographic, because he had a specific type. And I know every one of the PD that I talked to during my internship, and I had 28 various shifts where I was with a PD, with a police department officer in a squad car or an SU, mainly the squad cars, the Impalas, and we would be going through things. Anytime the IA and HR departments were brought up, the absolute statement was, don't ever let them get close to you. And I don't know if Decatur has a weak union or not, but I understand that everybody was deathly afraid there of any level of investigation, especially of a deviant sort. That's all I'm going to say. But the fact that these guys have that strong of a union to where you've got to be an absolute shitbag, like level of shitbag you could be, like what's the difference between a garbage can and a submarine? There's only one shitbag in a garbage can. And you got to be if you're the biggest shitbag in a sub, like you might, they might try to fix you to where you're not the biggest shitbag, but probably not. But I'm telling you that, like, this sounds like Buffalo's union is literally a bunch of thick necks from the island.
I forgot, but basically a preschool either teacher's aide or teacher, in order to discipline, this is preschool kids, in order to discipline the kids in preschool, she would put them in the bathroom and turn off the lights and then put her foot against the door so the kid's going to get out.
What?
Well, that's fucking mean.
And that's like sensory deprivation. Like that's how you like
That's
mess
cruel
with
and
people's
unusual
mind.
That's
punishment.
fucking horrible.
So
That-
you're doing this to like a 4-year-old.
This is how like problems. This is how problems start, and that I mean, that's so many different problems.
They fucking shove a 4-year-old kid or kids into a bathroom and shut the lights off and shut the door and bar the door with their body. What an absolute shitbag.
With that fucking situation you have, again, you're shutting a kid in darkness, creating a new fear. Also, then you're going to have the repercussions of, hey, this is an adult I'm supposed to trust. Now you're breaking trust. Now you're not going to you're going to have anxiety around adults. You're not going to trust, or you're going to have confusion of who to trust and who not to trust, and fear as you get older. That is just a world of so messed up to do to a 4-year-old. That's like lasting repercussions.
That person is still, I have their name. That person is still at the school. That person's just not allowed in that classroom anymore.
Wait, they fucking kept, they weren't fired?
They're still in the same school.
They're still around kids?
They're still
Okay. Chad Gretz, appreciate you that, man. You said you forwarded this to Cash and Pam. Hopefully things start to change, because I don't know if those two would be best to handle the education department. I would rather go for, I think it's the WWE lady, because she's the one that's was in charge of the NEA. I don't even know if that's even still got offices that are operating with lights on anymore. Okay, sad and frustrating part is that I have no working model for replacement. Yeah, at Flady homeschool or enclave school, but that's the only thing I could think of. And this has been forwarded to Cash Patel and Pam Bondi from Chad Gretz. Flady says unions will have to change how they operate after Trump's most recent move. He deemed like 5 federal unions in violation and severed the receipt of dues from members. Holy shit! Well, that's good. I hope he got the meat cutters and food handlers union, because those guys were terrible.
I believe the email said they're still an active teacher. They're just not allowed to teach kindergartners anymore. So it's fine to lock kids in the bathroom with no lights as long as they're tall enough to activate the light switch, apparently.
Do you have any idea how hard it is to violate the 8th Amendment rights of a kindergartner? Like, I did not have that on my bingo card, but all right.
Jesus.
Yeah, they're both still working at the school, and I have the person's name.
Wow.
Do we have FOIA requests out for that yet?
No, I only have the person's last name.
Okay, I can write one today.
Okay.
So what is the next, what are any fears that might, What are your biggest fears with this, like going unacknowledged?
Is that there's no continued investigation. Like there's no investigation. Right now, the Buffalo Public Schools are saying that they're doing their own third-party investigation, which doesn't mean jack shit to me, right? They're buying their own lawyer, their own investigator to do an investigation on themselves. And what's going to happen when that investigator finds a criminal aspect to this, like failing to report is a crime. It's a crime in New York State. It's New York State Penal Code, and I forget what the number is, but it's a mandated reporter not reporting, right?
Okay, just so you understand, the Eighth Amendment is protecting individuals against imposing excessive bail, excessive fines, or cruel and unusual punishments, which for a 4-year-old turning off lights would be considered. It was adopted on 1791, December 5th, but that's what he was talking about if you didn't catch that. But that's fucking funny. That's fucking great.
That is a thing. It's a misdemeanor that you could be arrested for, right? So what are they going to find? What are they going to do when they find that a crime has been committed and that people have failed to report?
They're going to label it information only.
They're going to label it information only and bury that shit. So honestly, unless it's this is, like I said, there's so many moving parts, especially with the DA's office not having subpoenas be responded to, that this is above the Buffalo Police Department. This has to be at a minimum the DA's office. At a minimum, the DA's office has to do an investigation.
And they've elected to remain silent so far.
Which is disheartening, because I don't know how anybody could look at this and say, I think that sticking up for kids is going to make us look bad.
Is there the election coming up?
Not for another 3 years, but I got a long fucking memory.
Brother, listen.
Just for a personal note to the DA, there's currently a civil suit that just got settled in 2023 for $10 million because a man was sexually assaulted when he was a child, and he was sexually assaulted when he was 11 years old. And what ended up happening with this case in 1978 was he was caught by Buffalo PD receiving acts from an 11-year-old in his car at a park, and the cops arrested him immediately and tried to press charges and have charges pressed, obviously for acts with an 11-year-old. And what ended up happening was, because this gentleman was connected and had friends, the DA and a local judge received I forget what you call it, but essentially letters from people vouching for his credibility.
Like character witness?
Character witness. He had character witness letters, and then he was evaluated by a psychiatrist that said he probably won't do it again. So the DA's office and the local judge decided to not press charges. He then went on to be a sitting board member of the Lovejoy Elderly and Youth Program for years, where he presumably assaulted more people. So DA's office, you can be that DA or you can be the DA that does your fucking job. Up to you.
Yeah, we would love nothing more than to give huge kudos to somebody for cracking down on this and being the person to blow this wide open. You know, if an investigation actually happened and people lost their jobs or went to jail over shit like this, over, you know, just basic accountability, we would love to just applaud them for doing that. But instead, everybody seems like their immediate action is just to stonewall even harder, pretend they're investigating, and attack Rich's character. And if that's the way you want to fucking play this, we can do this all day.
It's pretty much an open offer to anybody that wants to grow a spine and do the right thing. Everybody in this video right now can build up a person and their career just as fast as we can tear it down. So if you're going to be the person that steps in and does the right thing, we're going to be in your fucking corner for you getting reelected or promoted to continue doing the right thing.
Yep.
100%. Yeah. You have our full weight, and I guarantee our community's weight behind you too.
Yeah, this isn't just one way, trolling, we just want to attack people. No, we just want the right fucking thing to happen, and we're willing to do whatever's necessary.
Especially with kids. Like anything with children, special needs, anyone that needs help, doesn't have a voice. That is our job, like, to protect them, to help them, to guide them. They are our future.
Well, I'm getting the look, boys.
Okay. Yeah, you, Rich, thank you.
Do you look fat? No, you don't look fat. You look adorable. You're not.
Okay. Share this video out. Share the original video out. Share this to your friends. Share to your family. Got anybody on the East Coast? I want you to get this to anybody whose hands are in New York State, especially those poor bastards on the west side over there by all anything east of west of Albany. Get this in their hands, because this is fairly kind of a scary situation. This sounds like Nambla as Jesus fuck. Yes, it does, Flady. This is a clusterfuck of a situation. Let's wrap this up.
Not a fat sausage. I'll help you tie them. We're closing right now. You're welcome. She's pretty and she deserves a night out because she's been stressed because of my life, and I also haven't seen her a bunch, so I gotta give the woman props. She's been amazing through this.
Well, Rich, thank you so much for sharing all that, the updates. And Nick, awesome job of your own personal research and going above and beyond. And that goes for all the guys. Just really Twitter, social media, X, whatever you want to call it. All y'all have been stepping up and really getting the message out there. And it's awesome to see. And I am super proud of you all. And same for the community. Y'all are crushing it. Y'all are forcing people to look at this shit and acknowledge it. So thank you to each and every one of you out there.
And I've never seen anybody on the fucking receiving end of a fat electrician TISM research hole. And frankly, it's terrifying. And I'm glad we're friends.
Yeah.
Right.
Nick, hold up that book you just pulled out.
I
made a binder.
That's binders, dude.
God.
I
He
know.
got a trapper keeper of bullshit.
I am so far up the school district's ass. If they open their mouth, I'm going to use them as a telescope. Okay. I'm fucking all over it.
Nick has pink eye.
Oh, and what these poor bastards don't even know is it's only just begun. We just gave them a taste. We're about to go knee deep.
Oh, I love it. Oh, I love it.
This is just the tip so far.
Just the tip, baby.
Well,
Take that, investigative journalists. We've got an electrician.
We got a fat, angry electrician.
Channel 4, we have a Hulk.
People listen to you because of your job. I have this job because people listen to me. We're not the same thing.
Cody, you want to close it out, you beautiful boy?
Everyone, thank you for coming to another special episode of the Unsubscribed Podcast. I was joined today by Angry Cops, that electrician, Eli Double Tap, Brandon Herrera, myself, Donut Operator. Thank you so much.
That was fucking great. I fucking love those guys too. Nick is a standard I love, says Guy Marion. This guy, he's one of my faves. Before we go any further, I just have a couple things to show you. On the Unsubscribed Podcast Twitter, I have an army. We have a fat electrician. I think that's kind of cute. And here's the...
I am a god, you dull creature. I will not be bullied by that.
Puny god.
I am a god, you dull creature.
Sorry, that's just fucking classic. Thank you, everybody, being here today. Sundays I try to do something with Janet. Janet is out today. She's got death in the family. So I was here and I knew this was going to happen. So I wanted to just be involved. Wanting to do more. Nick is the electrician. Yes. The fat blonde-haired guy with the tank top and all the hair. He's the electrician. He's a fucking amazing researcher. He's got one of the best channels on YouTube. 2 of the best channels on YouTube. Excuse me. He has the Fat Files and he has the Fat Electrician. He also has another channel for shorts and he does other stuff with the Unsubscribed guys. He owns part of Bunker Branding, which is over in Bernie. Does all the shirts and mugs. He owns part of the Unsubscribed podcast. The guy's got fucking hands and everything that he can get, and that's great. Ron Bergeron says, keep up the good work. Listen, dude, I'm just a regular guy. I'm going to drive a shit truck tonight, sucking up grease and septic. And tomorrow, the sun will shine, and hopefully, we all get a chance to go at this again. Want to thank everybody for being here. And if there's anything you got questions on, drop them in the comments, please. Love you all. Want you all to be safe. Want you all to be healthy. Want you all to get your vitamins, get your proteins, and go get that fucking bread. Go get that money, pay your bills, and be fungible. Teach your kids to be good and be well. Be excellent to one another. Thank you and God bless.